Ecclesiastes 7:2-6. And I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. What exactly is a snare? A snare is a trap for catching birds or animals, typically one having a noose of wire or cord. A snare looks something like this. The animal walks along the path and unsuspectingly steps into the snare. Looking at Blue Letter Bible for the word heart, we see it's not actually a heart. It means the inner man, the mind, the will, the heart, the understanding. Let's look now at the word for snares. Siege works, bulwark, a hunting implement, a net or fastness, and stronghold. Siege works are platforms or towers an army builds around and above the city walls of a city under siege. It allows the besieging army to shoot arrows and throw missiles of war into the city. Deuteronomy 20:20 says, "Only the trees which you know are not fruit trees you shall destroy and cut down, that you may construct siege works against the city that is making war with you until it falls." So only the trees which did not produce fruit were cut down. Matthew 7:19, "Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire."
When King Zedekiah rebelled once again, Nebuchadnezzar mustn't have been feeling very charitable. The Bible mentions that this siege lasted 2 years. This military maneuver sees the invading army set up camp all around the target city, cutting off supply lines and killing or taking prisoner anyone who would try to come or go. A few generations before this siege, King Hezekiah had brought a fresh water supply into Jerusalem by way of an underground aqueduct. But the siege had cut off all outside food sources for Jerusalem's citizens. So it was a waiting game. Eventually, everyone in the city would begin to starve. And after 2 years, this was absolutely the case. The Babylonians even built a siege wall around the city as an added hurdle to anyone trying to escape, which Zedekiah eventually tried to do as the city's walls was being breached by the Babylonians.
A bulwark is a solid wall-like structure raised for defense, or a rampart. It's also to fortify or safeguard with a bulwark. This is an example of a bulwark. Continuing on, I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets. Looking at the word for net, it means a thing devoted, thing dedicated, ban, devotion, a net, a thing perforated, or having been utterly destroyed, appointed to utter destruction. Psalm 57:6, "They have prepared a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They have digged a pit before me, into the midst whereof they are fallen themselves." Going back to the woman whose heart is snares and nets, it says her hands are as bands. The word for hand is yod, and that means a hand, strength, power, a side, a part, a portion, a sign, a monument, a part. There are a few other definitions, including wrists. And the word for bands means a band or a bond or a house of bonds, like a prison. That's from the root word to tie, to bind, or to imprison. It also includes to begin the battle or make the attack. Another definition is of obligation of oath, to be imprisoned, to take prisoner. Whosoever pleaseth God shall escape her. The word for shall escape means to slip away, deliver, to be delivered, to give birth to. It's interesting how the word for net has, having been utterly destroyed, appointed to utter destruction. Joshua 6:18 discusses, "But you keep yourselves from the things devoted to destruction, lest when you have devoted them you take any of the devoted things and make the camp of Israel a thing for destruction and bring trouble upon it." And the context is discussing the walls of Jericho. And I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Bible Odyssey explained it well. A trap, technically a slip knotted cord or wire pulled tight to wrap and hold the legs of an animal or bird when it steps into the loop to get bait or by accident. The biblical usage includes references to catching birds and animals. It is frequently used symbolically for death, also for the actions of wicked people or the devil. It depends on deceit to be successful and was camouflaged by hunters to take the prey by surprise. A slip knotted cord or wire. There are also numerous references to DNA being used as a nanowire.
His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation.
The Bible warns us it's coming. Ecclesiastes 9:12, like fish that are taken in an evil net, and like birds that are caught in a snare, so the children of man are snared at an evil time when it suddenly falls upon them. Psalm 124:7, our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken, and we are escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth.
Because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us burst their bonds apart and cast away their cords from us.